Hello, Dr. Megan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so thrilled to have you on the podcast today. I know you're an expert in something that as entrepreneurs, we all need to know about, which is public speaking. And I'm just thrilled to have you on the podcast today. And what I would love to hear, since I'm just meeting you, I would love to just know more about you and your journey and kind of your mission as an entrepreneur in the online space. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. I'm so excited to be here. And, you know, I love talking everything public speaking. I always used to say I was the worst date in grad school because I talked all about public speaking. And at the time I studied a lot of religion. So it was like all of the things you're not supposed to talk about. But I love these topics. And so let me back up and tell you a little bit more about my journey. So yeah, I finished my PhD in 2015 and I had kind of known about like halfway through. So it took about 5 years that I didn't want to be a traditional academic. Like think Brene Brown. What a lot of people don't know is she had been doing the research for 20 years before she ever gave her TED Talk, putting in like the reps day in and day out. And I'm very social. Like I love being out talking to people, like doing data analysis, like by myself and my hoodie was the most boring thing possible. So I was really looking for something different from a traditional academic route, but there wasn't a lot of opportunities available at that level, right? And I think we get so wrapped up in other people's expectations for what that looks like. And so doing what I do now, I never would have thought of like 5 years ago by any means. Like it was like, oh, you failed somehow because you don't work at a university with a PhD was very much my mindset back then. So I ended up working out of the president's office at the university doing like public relations work. And then I still taught classes, but I didn't have to do like the academic research that I didn't really. Yeah. But then fast forward, so I had done that as like the last year of my PhD, and after I graduated, they hired me full-time to continue doing it. And I was chosen to work with a like visiting scholar that was there really to look at how the university worked with communities, because that's what she was doing in Nigeria. And Adam opened my eyes to like this whole other world of like happiness and joy. And like, she's just such a light in the world. And I was like, oh, maybe that's what I should be doing is like more international development work. And I never do anything like halfway. So after our summer together, I was like, you know, Adam, I'm going to just come to Nigeria. So I ended up applying for a fellowship, went there, and it really catapulted this whole like self-discovery of like, what am I meant to be doing in the world? What is my purpose? What makes me happy? And it's really empowering women like Adam, like all of my clients now, to get their stories out to the world. And I really had to shed like this other people's expectations was like a huge part of it. And then I had never realized it, but I was very much like the driving motivation behind like doing a PhD or getting the type of career success that I wanted was really external validation, looking for like that pat on the back and that like, oh yeah, what I'm doing means something, which, you know, there's still some of that there, but you can really only find that happiness within, and constantly looking at other people and like what they're doing isn't going to lead to having a happier life. So now I have the best job ever because I get to work with motivational speakers. Sometimes they don't know they're motivational speakers yet, but they are, and get their stories out into the world. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell.
What a beautiful journey. I can feel like how intentional every step was for you. And I just love that. And I also love that you brought up Brene Brown because she's my favorite ever.
Love her too. Yeah, she's like the new model of academics. So all of my friends that I did PhDs with are always like, I want to be Brene Brown someday.
Right. She makes it so like modern and hip and like accessible, and I love it. So I love that you talk about how you said that people don't know they're motivational speakers yet, because I find that that's so true. Everyone has a story, and all of us in our businesses have stories that we can tell. And sometimes I guess it's probably about connecting the dots between like telling that story to an audience, and how does that relate back to our business? How does that help us make sales? Like, how can we take our story and make it work for us in that way? And I know that's something that you are kind of an expert in, and that you have this formula for this 9-point formula. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. Let me back up
Oh,
one
sure,
step
sure.
with you and just say
Yeah.
that human beings are storytellers. There's
Yes.
this Walter Fisher was a narrative theorist back in the day, and I won't get too academic on you, but we have this innate need to tell a story to make the world make sense. And so if you've done any sort of mindset coaching, everyone's always like, well, what's like that story that you're telling yourself, right? Because we tell ourselves these stories constantly, and it is how we connect and relate to others. So when we're connecting the dots for sales, stories are our most persuasive element we can use. There's lots of different frameworks for breaking it down, but you've probably heard ethos, pathos, and logos before as like the types of persuasion appeals, or know, like, and trust that you have to build is really popular in the online space too. Stories hit all of those points when done properly. And so that's the formula that I'll share with everyone today. Is kind of 9 points to tell any story and make it stick and kind of, stick that landing, if you use a little gymnastics metaphor. But there's like 3 types of stories that we use a lot as business owners. So the founder story that I just shared at the beginning is one that everyone really needs. Like, why did you start what you're doing? And it's going to be the number one asked question when you go on podcasts, when you're talking, you need it for your about page. Like, really knowing your founding story is super important. The second one is your aha moment, either for yourself or for your clients. But when was that aha moment where everything kind of clicked and it came together? So I've got a story that I share around when I knew that I was a really talented public speaker, when I knew like, oh wait, I can connect in with my audience and really feel that like energetic exchange that happens when people are like really listening to what you're saying. And then the third type is a client transformation story. So being able to show where someone starts with you, what you did in the middle to get them the results. And that's really your moneymaker there, right? To be able to say, I take people who really don't like public speaking and make it super fun and easy so they can make more sales in their business. Right?
Love that. Yes.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So my founding story, I tried really hard to say it at the beginning. It's kind of the problem with being a public speaking coach is you always feel like an extra level of pressure for public speaking. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use my formula.
Right.
Yeah. But I can dive into it. So there's really 4 chunks to think about because 9 gets to be a lot. So let's talk about it in terms of you have a normal. So with my founding story, I talk about how I was really unhappy. Like I was doing all of these things that I thought I was supposed to be happy with, right? Like I had the dream job. Sometimes I talk about my situationship with the guy I was kind of dating at the time, those types of things. Then you have your transformation. Something happens. There's something that happens in every story, whether it's you as a business owner come in and help your clients in some specific way, or someone enters your life, or you have a health emergency, like something happens, there's that transformation. Then there's a new normal after the transformation. They lived happily ever after, that sort of part of it. But the part that people miss out on sometimes then is the 4th part, which is the wrap up, where you leave the audience with some sort of extra message. What is it that you want them to walk away from the story knowing? So do those 4 parts make sense?
You've got, absolutely.
Yeah. Normal, transformation, new normal, and wrap up.
Yeah,
so
that's beautiful.
Dive deeper into each one of them. And that's where we get the 9 points. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. That makes it so clear, the journey that we take people on, and how to wrap it up in that message. And especially for, the audience, my audience that listens to my podcast, it's making that connection on like how that transformation can also happen for their clients. So I love that you included that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can imagine, because I've worked with a couple like virtual assistants and OBMs and that sort in the past, that you think that your clients don't care necessarily about like you and your backstory, but they do so much. And that's what they're going to relate, and what makes you your unique selling point is
absolutely
your story. And the one thing I always like everyone to know is like your story is important, and it does have the ability to change someone's life, even if you think like, no, like I'm no one really cares, whatever. Like that's not the case. Like, and your ideal clients need to know your story to buy from you.
That's 100% true. I've seen it happen time and time again with like the virtual assistants I coach, and in my own business. The more you can personally connect people and relate people to your story, the more they do want to work with you, because we all want to be able to relate with the people that we're working with. So yeah, so thanks for making that so clear. And I'm just thrilled to also introduce you to members in the membership this month. And I know you're going to be talking about how to kind of craft that core message. Can you tell us a little bit about what you'll be sharing in that training?
Definitely. So your core message is the one truth that you know without a shadow of a doubt. And I know it's like kind of this big concept, but what happens a lot of time in branding is we focus so much on our ideal client avatar, and start to think, okay, what words am I going to use to connect with them, or all of these things. And that is important, but we miss out on ourselves. And you really are your unique selling point. And so I love walking people through finding their core message. So my core message is your speech will change the world, right? And it's my anchor point. Whenever I'm like rambling in an interview or rambling on a live, I go back to my core message. Marie Forleo, hers is everything is figure outable. Right? She says it all the time. And you're like, yeah, Marie, everything is figure outable.
Yes.
Her book, all of that. And you can see how intentional she is in her branding and making that happen. And so it's so helpful in so many ways to just have that one sentence that kind of acts as your North Star for who you are as a business owner and as a person. And start to look at, okay, here's your ideal client avatar, here's your core message, where do those unite? And that's where all of the content comes from in our businesses. So from speeches to your content pillars that you're talking about, and your coaching framework and all of that. So that's what we get to dive into the training.
That's so powerful. And I love that you said that we do get kind of really focused on our ideal client avatar. And I thought at the beginning of my business, I had to be so specific about like who that person was. And I thought I had to craft everything to fit them. But you're so right. Like if you can tap into your own uniqueness, like that's such a more powerful way to connect with people. So I am thrilled to hear more about that training. I'm already thinking, I wonder what my core message is. I don't know if I've honed in on that completely. I think I have some like ideas, but I love that. So one thing I always love to ask my guests is, what is one thing about you that's totally separate from your business that lights you up and inspires you and like makes you happy? Like
yeah,
a hobby or...
Well, it's tough right now. And you mentioned Lane. Her and I have this in common, is we're both world travelers.
I've had several guests say that to me recently, is that it's hard. Yeah.
So my 2020 was supposed to be totally different. I was still living in Kosovo until March, when I decided to come back to the US because of COVID. And so I thought right now, like me, December 2019, I would be in Thailand right now doing yoga teacher training. So it's like a little bit of a core part of my identity hasn't been able to be expressed lately. So travel is definitely something that I absolutely love, and meeting new people. So 2020, threw a curveball for all of us.
Totally. Yeah, it was, I think it shook a lot of people's core identities. Like even me as a business owner, all of a sudden I was like I had to let a lot of that go for a while and focus on my kids' virtual learning. So like the identity piece has been weird this year. We've had to like really reconfigure the way we're thinking about things.
You know, it's like, who am I in the world? Maybe I spend too much time thinking about it, but yeah, that would be my, like, so I've been to over 15 countries.
Wow.
And want to go to so many more. So
that's amazing. I love that. Well, it's coming. You'll be able to do it again. I have a lot of hope for the new year and the new years ahead. So
me too. One moment in time, you know.
Yes. So then, of course, I'm sure everyone wants to get in touch with you and see how to work with you and find you online. So where are the best places to get in touch with you?
Definitely. So I have drmeganfisk.com is my hub. I'd love to invite everyone to my 777 club. So if you've ever been to Toastmasters or heard of like a BNI networking group, it's similar to that, but it's all focused with women entrepreneurs and on improving our speeches. And it's a little less intimidating. So there's only 7 women on the call at a time, and myself, and you have up to 7 minutes to share your speech. So if you want to come and share your founding story and get feedback from myself and the other people on the call, that's the whole point of 777 Club. And it's totally free to come for the first time, check it out, see how you like it. And you can find all the information for 777 Club on my website at drmeganfisk.com.
That's so awesome. That sounds so fun. What a cool way for people to like get that confidence and start to test that out, and also probably make some pretty great connections. What a fun concept. Love that.
Yeah, no, I love seeing all of the partnerships that come from it. And everyone's always like, oh no, I'm like so interested in your challenge you were just talking about, or I want to connect with you. And yeah, and it's just because so many people are afraid to like hit that go live button, or maybe you aren't necessarily, you don't have like the, you know, I'm about to throw up every time I speak feeling, but you want to try out some new things before you're ready for like prime time, I would call it, with your audience. And so 777 Club's the perfect place. And I tend to work with more like soul-led entrepreneurs who like love crystals. I have one around here right now, or these types of things, and they're not typically accepted at like Toastmasters. People are going to laugh or be like, wait, what is it that you even do? And so I really wanted to create a space where we all felt welcome to share our authentic selves, practice our messages, and then really get that feedback that we need.
I love that.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. Well, you guys, all those links are going to be in the show notes, so make sure to get in touch with Dr. Megan Fisk everywhere that she is. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. I'm just so grateful for this conversation today. And I'm thrilled to learn from you about creating that core message. I'm just so excited to learn. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you.